I own it. My body, this body, like your body, is mine. When I was born, it was mine. Mine alone. Mine to cry, my lips to suckle her breast, my heart to beat, lungs breathing air that I share with you. My soul inhabiting every cell, molecule, tissue of this body, mine. The pink, wet inside walls of my mouth to salivate. My hair to straighten or braid or cut. My feet to arch and feel rocks dig into. I sleep on my back now. I was already drunk when I got to the party. I had been so in love, infatuated, he called it. But no, I loved him with every fiber of my being. I thought the sun rose with his smile and set when he made an excuse not to come see me. I met his mother. He didn't love me, no, but he was infatuated with me at one point. For those few weeks, the sun rose and set on each other and glowed well into the night. The dawn was for looking into one another's eyes. The day was for lounging in the park and stroking hair from gleaming temples. The afternoon was for thinking of one another, and the evening was for tangling our strings together. He told me we should be friends. I couldn't eat. I could sleep, but couldn't wake up. I felt this sour, cold water spread from my very center, radiating concentrically and three-dimensionally out to the very tips of my fingers and toes. And it didn't stop there. It kept spiraling out into space, hurting phantom limbs that had no end. I completely stopped going to class. In fact, I never really started. He broke up with me over Christmas break, and when the semester started, I would sit in those first few classes filling with this cold mist that would turn hot in my face and bring jagged tears to my eyes. These tears would well and well and well until it felt like there was an inch of water sitting horizontally on each eye. I would sit very still. Sometimes I would try to suck them back in, but there is always a breaking point when control is impossible. Gravity, entropy, death. I felt the water rush down my face and splash on my clavicle, and I would sit very still and hope no one could see. I wiped my eyes and sat through the rest of the class, then never went back. At the party, I really wanted to feel this feeling again. To be loved with the fire of the sun, to bask in someone's light, to be the sun. I had met Ed a few days before in the cafeteria. I would go there and went there pretending to go to class after, like everyone else. He was drunk. It was the afternoon. He was funny, handsome, roguish. This night, I saw him. We were both drunk. I threw up on the floor of the frat house. My friends took us back to the dorms. Maybe we walked up the hill. I think we did, though that sounds impossible. We must have driven. We were deposited at his dorm. There were others there, but I don't remember who. We were flirting with our eyes and our hands. Maybe the others left, I don't know. They must have been there because we went to the laundry room. We kissed with wet, sloppy mouths and clumsily roamed each other's bodies, trying to find ways inside. He was so warm. He picked me up and put me on the washing machine. We had sex. It felt really good. I felt like the sun and the moon and the whole sky. 3 weeks later, I started to throw up each morning. The smells of the cafeteria were disgusting. I saw him, had seen Ed one more time since the first night. We had sober sex in his dorm room with a condom, and it was very awkward. I felt like a self-aware robot being maintained by a human. I hoped I wasn't pregnant. Since the breakup, I had discovered the depths of my own insanity. I had waded there before, but now I was deep within its waters, barely able to gasp at the surface for air. I would walk through campus, not feeling part of the current of time. I felt as if I was standing still and watching myself walk through tubes filled with water, a starfish picking her way through a tunnel at the aquarium. I had felt this once before. In high school, I remember walking from my living room to the kitchen and having the peculiar sensation of not inhabiting my body, of observing from above as I walked. But this encompassed more than dissociation from my body. I felt as if I was dissociated from this reality. I didn't dispute the validity of this reality, I just wasn't a part of it. I was an observer, and I could even observe time. And when I looked at time, it wasn't linear, and that scared the shit out of me. Drugs put me back in my body. They tethered me to this reality. I decided to have an abortion. I called my parents, and they told me I could make my own decision. Thank you. But I was scared and sad. I felt so guilty. I saw Ed and told him I was pregnant. He didn't have much reaction. I told him I was going to have an abortion, asked what did he think about that. He didn't have much reaction, not one that registered with me. I don't know how he felt. He seemed not to care, and I understand. We were both barely 19. I don't remember being mad at him. I didn't know how to be mad then. I hated anger. When my mom yelled at me, I would sit on my hands and twiddle my fingers secretly. I would keep my face completely emotionless. My fingers would furiously express anything I felt inside. I went home to Tennessee for my abortion. I was scared, nervous, but I found out that I am very brave and always have been. There were protesters holding signs with images of aborted fetuses. They shouted things with loudspeakers. I could hear them inside. The guilt of what I was going to do enveloped me. But my father was there. He stayed with me in the waiting room. He told me he loved me. And I knew that if my dad loved me, the person I held as the ultimate standard for what a person should aspire to be, then I must be okay. I also knew that this was my best choice. But I simultaneously was stabbed by daggers of guilt and shame. Trickles of guilt found their way through the cracks of my armor of worthiness. I named her Zara. And I knew she was a she, and I knew that she was amazing. I talked to her and asked her to forgive me. I imagined her as a baby, a toddler, and a child. And today I see her as a wiry, curly-haired 13-year-old. My grandmother passed very shortly after I found out I was pregnant, and I had this feeling that her soul had traveled and inhabited the new cell conglomerate that had formed in my uterine wall. I both believed this and didn't believe this. Emotionally I did, rationally I did not. But it was actually both true and not true. Some things are. Orson Scott Card calls this Aniua, the soul which is immortal and finds its way from body to body throughout time and space. I would read his novels several years later and imagine my grandmother's soul entering the infinite room of space-time and opening the door which led to me. But this was not on my mind in the waiting room. I sat very still and waited to be called. The doctors and nurses were very kind to me. They told me my options and let me ask questions. I laid on the table and put my feet in the leather straps. I felt cold air whoosh against my openings as I opened my legs and laid on my back. They had given me some kind of sedative, and I slipped into an in-between. I was there and not there, but I wasn't scared anymore. They put a machine into me, metal, cold. They turned it on and it blended. There was pain. It was dull, strange to feel soft pain, but know that it is hard pain, that it's its own pain, to wonder what is in between what I perceive and reality. It was over, and I sat for a while in a cushioned chair and bled into a pad. They gave me hydrocodone, and the pain subsided. We laughed, and I don't remember the protesters, but they must have still been there. I convalesced for about a week. I couldn't lay on my side, so I had to sleep on my back, which I hated. But now I have to sleep on my back, otherwise I can't fall asleep. I healed as I lay there, taking the pills. The pain softened so much with them, and I didn't care about anything. I laid outside one day in my bathing suit instead of the bed. It was early May in Tennessee, the most beautiful time and place in all of history to me. The dogwood trees are in full bloom, and the trees are so varied and thick, old. The sun casts a warm yellow glow on everything. Blue is really blue, green is really green. Everything shimmers, even the air. And when night creeps in, the fireflies appear and twinkle real magic everywhere. The smells are intoxicating, flowers, grass, barbecue. I felt the sun on my skin. It was so beautiful. I was so beautiful. I saw a boy in the next yard, maybe a little older than me. I wanted him to see me. I wanted him to be distracted by me, to only think of me and forget that he needed to keep trimming the hedges. I hurt. I thought of Zara, of Forrest, of Ed. I thought about my whole life up until that point. I cried as I lay there. Then I smoked some weed and half a cigarette. Then I went back inside and lay down. My dad wanted me to do yard work. He wanted to parent me and put me on a good path again. My uterus hurt as I hung clothes in the yard. He let me lay down, I think, but I don't remember. Later, I said goodbye to Zara. I talked to her and she forgave me. I believed in God then, and it forgave me. I don't anymore, but I still talk to it. I believe and don't believe. Zara flew away in a balloon. A few years later, I went to drug treatment. We wrote to loved ones on balloons, and the therapist said she was going to take them outside and release them. But it doesn't matter if she did or didn't. I asked Zara and my grandma to forgive me, to have a beautiful, endless afterlife. I tried to imagine heaven. It always looks like a mix between what dreams may come and the lovely bones. Years after this, I got pregnant again, but I decided to keep him. But I had a miscarriage. I thought this was my punishment for my abortion. It made so much sense. But it really doesn't. The opposite would be to net one baby. If God is punitive, then he would take one out of spite. But my God is not punitive. It doesn't think that way. In fact, I can't even comprehend what it thinks because it is outside of my philosophy completely. There are mysteries, and this is one of them. I didn't name that baby, but I loved it deeply. I wanted it so badly. I was ready then to be a mother. Every cell in my body yearned to create and nurture new life. I took this desire and pushed it out into the world. I am glad I had a miscarriage. I'm glad I have no children right now. I began to channel my power into work, into dance. I learned many things and made many more mistakes. I am not perfect. I am deeply flawed. I am petty, gifted, loving, cruel, submissive, aggressive, self-defeating, proud, humble, and so tired sometimes. I am a reliable narrator, but I also might be wrong. I remember what I remember so accurately, but who is right when we disagree about the time of day or who was there?